Greetings, comrades. I am Admiral Andre, and I am back safely, luckily, from my trip to Alexandria, Egypt. And I thought now is a good time to make a little bit of an update video. So, after every trip, people want to show off some of their photos that they took, and I won't force you to sit through a lot of that. I just have a few pictures here, and then I just want to discuss the way forward. What are we going to do in our future videos and so on. So, let's have a look. First of all, I can start with this one. This is the main hall of the Arab Academy of Science, Technology and Maritime Transport in Alexandria. This is where the conference took place, although some of the technical sessions took place in another building nearby. This is the main hall. Here you can see this was during the opening ceremony. The conference itself was the African Association of Remote Sensing of the Environment, and it is the largest conference or gathering in the field of remote sensing in Africa, and it happens every 2 years in different locations. The next one will be in 2020 in Rwanda, which would be a very interesting thing to attend. And in this conference, they discuss all kinds of things related to Earth observation and using satellite data for agriculture, water, minerals, anything you can think of. So it's early warning for disasters, all sorts of things like that. So all of the latest work is discussed here, and all of the big players in the field are here. And that also includes the European Space Agency, and I met one of the people actually responsible for one of their programs. So it's a really good opportunity to get to know people in the field as well. So people from the African Union were also there, and it was a great opportunity to talk to them about some of the new developments related to the African Space Agency that's going to be started very soon, within the next few months. So excellent thing. Now, that was the first two there. The next one here this was out of one of the other buildings where the technical sessions were held. So this is just part of the campus, but you can see part of the city here. And this is really representative, I think, of the city of Alexandria, because there are anywhere between 5 to 7 million, I've heard. Google says 5.17 million people live in Alexandria, but I heard people at the conference saying it's 7 million. So around those numbers, and they all live in these kinds of tall buildings, tower blocks almost, you could say. But unfortunately, some of the maintenance is lacking in the majority of cases. This is one of the examples. Unfortunately, a lot of these buildings, you can see, are not actually maintained. It leaves one wondering a little bit about their structural integrity, because you can see actually chunks of the balcony have fallen off here and that sort of thing. So it's not really the safest thing. But the area that I was staying in is right next to the San Stefano Mall, which is apparently the most expensive property development in Egypt. So that's where all of the best shops and all of that are located. I went into the San Stefano Mall, but a mall is a place for clothing, shoes. It's the same kind of thing anywhere in the world. So it's still interesting to see, but I guess if you're looking for that sort of thing, then that is a good place to go. But I was much more interested in the history of Alexandria and of Egypt in general, and I would very much like to return one day to actually see the pyramids, which I have now not seen, and also visit the museum in Cairo and all of that sort of things. But as part of the conference, the organizers had a tour that we took on the second last day. It cost $40, but it was worth every cent, because they took us all around the city, and some of the locations included the Library of Alexandria. Now that's of course the new one, not the ancient one that was lost a long time ago. And I found this very interesting. I have some pictures here. This is of course not all the photos that I took, but this is now inside the main area of the library. They have something like 2 million books there. I have another one here as well. This is like the main reading area inside. They said you can't actually take books out of this library, you can just read them here. So, still useful, I think. There is some kind of deal apparently with the University of Alexandria, which is right next door, where the students can use all these resources. Then I think, yes, they went through a whole tour here as well, saying how the thing was designed and all of the aspects there. There's another one here, how the ceiling was designed and all of that. There is a model here as well. This is the complex here, and this is basically designed to look like a rising sun across the water. And this building here, is that a planetarium? I can't remember what he said, the tour guide, but it is supposed to be like the Earth revolving around the sun here in the middle. So it's very interesting, the design process. Also, there's an antiquity section in the lower level of the library. Unfortunately, it was closed by the time we got there as part of the tour. But our tour guide convinced them to let us in for 5 minutes, and I got to see an actual mummy there. So interesting. It's not every day you see that in a library, so worth it, definitely. Some of the other sites, well, this is also part of the library. There you can see the model of the library, so this is near the entrance. A lot of security in Alexandria, I have to say. Everywhere you go, even into the shopping mall, you have to go through metal detectors, and they scan your bags and search through your bags and all sort of things, so you just have to be prepared for that. This is the outside of the library, very famous part, of course, where you see all of the different alphabets sort of carved into the exterior wall here. Very interesting. This is the Royal Garden of Montazah. We also saw that. Apparently there are also royal palaces here. We drove past them as part of the tour, but we didn't really get to see them. Where the kings of Egypt used to live some while ago. So that was another interesting historical site. Let's see, I've seen all of these now. Oh, this was the other one. It's again not a great photo here. We unfortunately were there at night, but this is the citadel of Kite Bay. And this is where the lighthouse of Alexandria used to stand. Actually, I believe some of the stones from the lighthouse were used to build the citadel here, and this was actually built against the Crusaders to sort of protect Alexandria against the Crusaders. That's what our tour guide said anyway. And this is a 15th century fortress, so another very interesting historical location. Now actually what the photo doesn't show, there's an entrance here on the right side, and there is a quote unquote aquarium there, 10 Egyptian pounds to enter. But it is the most bizarre thing I ever saw in my life, because it's an aquarium with not a single living thing in it. It's all these empty tanks with very strange displays. It's very weird, but anyway, it's called an aquarium for some reason, but there we go. So yes, that is basically all of the photos that I have to show here. I took many more, but I don't want to bore you there. So of course this is my flight back. I had a very good seat here, and the 2 seats next to me were empty, so I had the opportunity to actually enjoy the flight. Although I will say, try to avoid flying through Alexandria Airport, Borg Al Arab. It's a terrible, absolutely miserable place. Landing there was not a problem. We went through security and passports and all of that with no problem. But getting out was an absolute nightmare. I was there 3 hours before the flight, as you're supposed to be. But even that was not enough, because there was such a terrible hold-up because of security. And actually, just to get into the building, they check your papers, and I waited, I would say, at least an hour outside the building to get in, because the line was that slow. And I have to say, there was no actual line there. It was all just a bunch of people shoving to get in. And so you have to be prepared for that as well. Then inside, they check your papers again, and then you have another so-called line, but again it's just a jumble of people with multiple sort of lines next to each other, shoving to get ahead. Then after about another 3/4 of an hour, you get to the security checkpoint, you know, the metal detector and the bag scanner. There, I would say they let through one person a minute at most, and there's only 2 of them. So you can imagine hundreds of people from multiple flights trying to get through. It's a total nightmare, and eventually you get through there. Then you have to get your ticket and then get to passport control. Now, already it's time for the flight to board by this point. Passport control was fine, they stamped it and all of that. I got out there, and then there was another complete nightmare, a wait of at least 2 hours to get through another security checkpoint, as if we somehow, you know, got something dangerous in between the last several checks. But anyway, there things totally got out of hand. There were again just 2 checkpoints there, metal detectors, bag scanners, and hundreds of people in one giant pile, shoving and shouting and carrying on, and everyone started panicking because they were late, including myself, for the flights. And the security people got really arrogant with the people, started shoving the passengers around and shouting at them and all of that. Really disrespectful and unprofessional, I have to say that. It's unfortunate, but you don't treat passengers like that. And eventually I got through that, and then the flight was 2 hours late, but they waited for me. And I made it back to Dubai, and there also there was a delay with the flight. This is now the one in the picture, back to South Africa. So luckily I made that one despite the delay in Alexandria. But again, I'll just say to you, don't fly through Alexandria if you have a choice. Rather try Cairo Airport. That's anywhere where most people, where most people go. So I think that is a better option. Anyway, comrades, back to the videos. I think at the moment, because I'm still very busy with my work, and it's going to stay that way for the next few months actually, I'm going to have to be very strategic. So I want to focus on Kerbal and on real politics, because that's something I've neglected for a very long time. So real politics is of course updated several times since we last played, you know, the old save there with the Ottoman Empire, or Turkey anyway. And here I've updated the game to see if it would run. I have never actually played through with the New Power DLC. I just wanted to see what it looked like again. And the saves, of course, don't load into that. We still have the same problem, including that short American campaign of mine. Now, if we have a look under the properties and you see the betas here, there is the, I have to think, it's the separatism test. That's the one that the saves actually work in. So I'll have to load that up again to continue with the Ottoman Empire, or so-called Ottoman Empire. We never actually managed to get an Ottoman Empire. And then, of course, I still want to continue with the KSP, the Mir station. We're very, very close to completion there. Somebody did recommend redoing one of the modules, but I don't think I'm going to do that because it's been such a slow progression. I think that would just set us back even further. So the main thing now is to do the scaffolding on top of the main core module. So of course KSP has also been updated 1.51 I think now. And I've just, as I started recording, I finished uploading or updating some of the mods here. So I'll of course have to include all the details when I actually do that video. But it seems to be working well. The TAC Live support is updated. I'm using the Astronomer's Visual Pack now, and of course with that environmental visual enhancements and the stock visual terrain, all of the usual things, and it seems to be working very well. So I just did a test with the old Saturn V that we built, and it works very well, so that bodes well for us. So I'll continue with that, comrades. I think we have to set a definitive goal here, otherwise we're never going to get anywhere. So I want to do at least one video of each once a week, otherwise we will completely stagnate here. So over the coming weekend I'll try to record one KSP and Real Politics, and then I will release them throughout the week or on the weekend. We'll see, but that's basically where we are now, comrades. So again, thank you for your patience and your support, and well, I'll leave you with the library. It's always a worthwhile thing, you know. I actually told one of the people there, I hope this library fares better than the last one, because it's such an important thing to preserve all of this knowledge, you know. We are so confident in our modern world that everything that we build will last, but history always shows us it's not the case. So, well, I'll leave you with that, comrades. See you next time and have a fantastic day.